What's up, everybody? I'm Josh Soleil, and today we're talking about the new Elgato HD60X, just released. Now, if you're streaming on the new next-gen consoles like Xbox Series X and or the PS5, you're definitely going to want to check this out. Well, let's get into it. Now, the Elgato HD60X is incredibly thin, super lightweight, so you can take it on the go with you, especially if you like to stream outside of your house. 2 HDMIs in the back, one for input, one for output, one USB-C in the back, and the biggest difference with this one is the headphone jack is actually going to be in the front of this versus the HD60 S Plus is on the side, kind of on the back, or depending on how you kind of have this. Now, here are the two differences side by side, because when you do look at the HD60X, you're going to think, well, what's the biggest difference between the HD60 S Plus and the HD60X? And there are not a lot of them, but the differences that are pretty noticeable. The variable refresh rate, so depending on what monitor you're using and what display you're using, that's going to actually be pretty big, especially with next-gen consoles, with the PlayStation 5 just now supporting variable refresh rate. Also, the support for the HD60X up to 120 Hz. That is awesome, and now that a lot of games are slowly starting to support that, you're going to start noticing that more and more. Also included in the box is a USB-C to USB, and it's super long. You see you have a ton of slack on this, so if your TV or your console or your outlet is far away, you'll be good to go with that. Also, HDMI, which is great. HDMI to HDMI. Your console or your computer should have their own HDMI depending on what you're streaming from, so you're good there. So the fact that it comes with those, I love that Elgato does that. Sometimes not all capture cards do, so they really take care of you and be like, look, we got you covered with those. Now, we're here on the Elgato webpage because these are the only devices that support 120 Hz. The HD60X, which we know, easy plug and play, super easy to bring with you. The 4K 60 Pro and the 4K 60 Pro MK.2. Now, those two devices have to be installed into a computer. So you lose that transferability, that flexibility that you can just go anywhere and start streaming. You'd have to bring your desktop with you. Now, the biggest difference between the HD60X and the HD60 S Plus is just $20, which is wild. So if you're in the market for looking for a capture card, I would recommend spending that extra $20 on the HD60X, because if you're trying to stream on next-gen consoles like the PS5 and Xbox Series X, that's going to future-proof you. More games are slowly releasing 120 Hz. I know it's still new and not a lot of games have come out with that yet, but as more games start doing that and unveiling that, you'll get more out of it with the HD60X. Now, another big thing is the variable refresh rate, which actually just got released by PS5 just recently. Now, why that's so important is because depending on the display and monitor you're using, the game will be able to adapt to it. So you get less screen tear, less lag, less stutter, all of that. So it's a smoother experience, a smoother streaming experience and recording experience, which is great. Now, let's look at this chart that Elgato made, the biggest difference between the HD60X and the HD60 S Plus, because if you're in the market for a card, these are the two that you're going to really start comparing. If you already own an HD60 S Plus, I think you're good. I don't think you need to buy a whole nother card, but if you have yet to purchase one and you're maybe just getting into streaming, or you're thinking about it, or you're looking to upgrade a card, or maybe your HD60 S has some, wear and tear to it, then I would say instead of getting an HD60 S Plus for your first or replacement card, the HD60X is going to be where you want to go. Now, the variable refresh rate pass-through is going to be the biggest thing, and you can see that the HD60X has that and the HD60 S Plus does not. Other than that, they pretty much are the same. HDR10 pass-through and capture, 4K 60 pass-through. You have that high frame rate capture up to 1080p at 120, which the HD60 S Plus does not. 1440, 120, and 1080p 240 pass-through that the HD60X has and the HD60 S Plus does not. So again, that 120 FPS kind of pushes it forward with that, not only with that variable refresh rate, but also the 120 Hz. Now, 1080p 60 capture, both of them have that. Connection's the same, analog's the same, 4K capture utility if you want to use the Elgato software, OBS, everything all compatible the same. Now, again, the biggest difference between the HD60X and the HD60 S Plus is variable refresh rate and that pass-through, that 120 Hz pass-through right there that you saw earlier. So now I'm gonna put a side-by-side comparison so y'all see the difference and see if you can notice the difference. So that's the Elgato HD60X. Now, if you already have an HD60 S Plus, I don't think there's any reason to get another one, an HD60X. However, if you don't have an HD60 S Plus and you're looking for a new capture card, then the HD60X is pretty much a no-brainer. $20 more, and you get more of a future-proof 120 Hz and a variable refresh rate. Now, keep in mind, you need to have the display and monitor that supports that, but more games will start supporting that 120 Hz. As of now, not a lot, but as time goes by, wow, that's where we're going. Also, if you have a PS5 and Xbox Series X, why not? Another great thing is they moved the audio jack to the front of the capture card rather than to the side of it, so it's a little bit easier to use. Not a huge difference, but it's the little things that count. Also, it's more stable. It stays on my desk a little bit more rather than that egg-shaped type HD60 S Plus. Now, I love my HD60 S Plus, and I think it's one of the best capture cards out there. But if you're looking to get a new one or looking to kind of get a first one, the HD60X is going to be fantastic for you. Well, make sure to like and subscribe for the video, and let us know in the comments what you liked about the Elgato HD60X and what you're rocking if it's the HD60 S Plus. I'm Josh. We'll see you next time. Peace.